we're going to get into the defensemen today. We talked yesterday. This is a heavy defense draft. If you're looking for centers, while there are good ones, it's if there's an elite position in this draft, it is the defenseman. And I think we see that even in that athletic mock that we referenced a few times yesterday. It's 3 of the first 4 and 6 of the top 11 picks, I believe, in that athletic mock were defensemen.
Yeah.
It's going heavy in that direction. Because it's so top heavy in defense, do you think that ultimately means probably the best guy left for the Flyers is going to be a forward, maybe a center? Because they're going to go so top heavy on D?
I have always operated under the assumption that the defensemen are going to go early. Now, we'll get into where it seems like this is lining up right now. Obviously, we have a month until the draft, so stocks can change a little bit. We can get a better understanding of how the teams are really viewing these guys. But I've always sort of viewed this as a situation where teams already reach for defensemen, even when they're not that great. And this year, they actually are that great. So how are teams going to be able to help themselves from taking a defenseman in the top 10 if there are at least 6, if not more, defensemen that are legitimately worthy of being taken in the top 10? And that's where we're at with this draft. There are a ton of guys who, at the very least, have top pair potential, if not number 1 defensive potential. And that's what excites so many people. So look, you never know how these drafts are going to shake out. It's possible that a couple of these defensemen, there will be red flags that'll come up at the combine during the interview process, and they'll slip. And then maybe the Flyers will have a shot at 1 or more of them. I've seen some mocks where, guys like Buyam are there. I've certainly seen mocks where Karl Yakimchuk is there. Like, I've seen mocks where some of these guys are available at 12. But if I had to guess, I would guess that there will be a run on defensemen in that top 10. Whether that leaves 1 guy for them at 12, it very well could. But I think a lot of these guys in this top tier, we're going to talk about in a little bit, are going to be gone by the time the Flyers select at 12.
So I want to first look here at the Flyers' organizational depth at the position because, Cam York, Travis Sanheim, breakout years in some respects. I don't know if Cam York broke out, but he was very good by the end of the season. You could look back.
He's continued to progress.
Yes,
let's say
he's continued, maybe not broken through, but like by the end of the year, you went, damn, Cam had a good season. And Travis Sanheim, we've made plenty of the year he had. We know how that went. But you break it down by side. Sanheim is a lefty who plays the right, and then behind him, Drysdale, Risto, Bonk, Addard, Helge Grans, Ethan Sampson, Carter Sutherland. A lot of guys who could potentially play the right side here. And you look at the left, Cam York, okay, he might have top pair potential, if not definitely top 4. Behind him, though, Sealer, we like him, but like, what is he? And is he really going to be around forever? Yeah, exactly. Igor Zamula. Yeah, like Igor Zamula. I don't know, man. I'm glad he got a shot, but if he's the 7 or something, that's fine with me. Emil Andre, we'll see. Still plenty of promise there. Adam Ginning, I liked what I saw. I don't know how much more there is. And Hunter McDonald, they love, but it seems like he's a big stay-at-home shot blocking kind of. Basically, what they turned Risto into, a combination of like Risto and Sealer, pretty much.
Yeah.
They don't have a ton on the left side. What I wanted to ask you was, do you think handedness should play a role in who they draft? Like, obviously Travis Sanheim can always move over to the left and suddenly we're a little bit more stocked, but also, I don't know, I never really liked him all that much, and then he just played a year on the right, and I'm like, yo, he's pretty good. I kind of want to keep him there. And then Drysdale, we'll see, but he's definitely part of the future. Risto, I don't expect him around much longer. But Bonk, he better be a part of the future, Like, Sanheim, Drysdale, Bonk, okay, well, you play 3. Should that come into consideration when you're drafting, or do you think it's like, especially right-handed defensemen, they're so valuable, like, you take them no matter what?
I do think that might be the way the Flyers look at it, because on the whole, and this draft is kind of an anomaly because there's a lot of legitimately highly ranked right shooting defensemen in this draft, but generally speaking, right shot defensemen are harder to find. So I would not be surprised if that is the thought process the Flyers take, in that they're usually scarce. If you have the opportunity, you still bump that right shot defenseman a little bit higher than you would otherwise because they're just harder to get on the whole, even if that's not necessarily the case in this one singular draft. My answer to your question, though, is a little bit different, because my answer is no, I wouldn't care personally about left-handed versus right-handed in this draft. And here's why. I look at the Flyers depth chart right now, and I see a very clear and logical path based on what they believe they have in terms of the guys they've signed, the guys that are young, and the prospects that they like. Like, for example, I know they like Emil Andre. I know they like Hunter McDonald. I know they love Oliver Bonk. They have a mix in the organization right now where they could pretty easily, 1, 2, 3, 4 years down the road, out of the guys they already have in the organization, put together a perfectly average blue line, like a perfectly fine NHL blue line that, it's fine. It's not amazing, but it's fine. What is the thing that this blue line is lacking? It's lacking that clear-cut impact number one. Now, obviously, they're hoping that Jamie Drysdale takes that leap. I guess you never know. Maybe Cam York could take a leap as well. He could continue to progress into a true impact guy. But right now, I see one glaring flaw in the future Flyers blue line, and it is that they don't have that dude who can run the show, who you can depend upon to change games or take 26 minutes a night in the playoffs and dominate in those minutes. They just don't have that. I said it yesterday, that alpha, that number one. So to me, I don't care whether that number one is a lefty or a righty. I just want that number one. And if I think a guy at 12 is available who could be that number one, I don't really care whether he's a lefty or a righty. Like, if they think Carter Yakimchuk is a potential number one, a potential game-changing defenseman, and he's there at 12, like, you know what? Take him. And we'll figure out the fact that they have Drysdale and Bonk and Sanheim's better on the right side. We'll figure that out later. It's not something I feel like has to be prioritized, because if you're right on a guy like Yakimchuk, or if you're right on a guy like Bouillon, but you have York and Andre looks good, and you really like that Hunter McDonald guy because, man, he hits and he's a flyer. Like, you know what? If your prospect that you took in this draft is good enough, you're going to find a way to move things around, whether via trade, whether letting somebody go via free agency. Like, you're going to find a way to make it work. So to me, they just need more talent. They need more high-end talent. And I'm not going to get too hung up on in this draft about whether the guy happens to shoot righty or lefty, because that's their biggest need. It's not left or right. It's just they need that really, really good defenseman. And if you can get him, who cares which direction he shoots?
We all silly like the mayor.